Now, you all know I try to be as calm and gentle as possible when I do these videos. But I just wanted to start with this one thing. Kanye West does not need people to idolize him. He does not need people to make fun of him. He does not need people to write him in on presidential ballots, you dummies. He needs mental help. Badly. Like, badly. He needs medical help. Because he's got something wrong up here. And that's okay. But he needs help. And I just wanted to get that out of the way up top. Just to do it. I'm going to talk about him later, don't worry. Generally speaking with these videos, I have a rough idea of what I'm going to talk about, and then I just kind of like dive into it. And I have a mind to speak about a couple of things, so we're going to go on a journey together, and I hope that's okay with you. Because I got my ballot in the mail for the state of Washington for the primaries in August. Which is super important to vote on. And it just got me thinking about November and how that's coming up fast. And I hear you saying, why, Sam, it is July. And to that I say, yes, it is July. However, it's the end of July and it's almost August. And then before you know it, it's going to be September. And then it's going to be October. And then lo and behold, it's going to be November. And it's just going to sneak up on you faster than you think. Time is a flat circle. It doesn't matter anymore. So just watch out for time. It's going to come get everybody. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not thrilled with the options that we have for president at the moment. It is statistically unlikely that anyone other than the Democratic nominee or the Republican nominee for president is going to win the election. And that's just how it is. Is it good? No. It's terrible. It's awful. Do I like what I have to choose from? Absolutely not. But I'm going to sit here, stand in a figurative way, and express right now that they could have put a soggy old boot that they fished up from the Dead Sea 100 years ago in the chair for the Democratic Party for president, and I would vote for that boot every time. 10 out of 10 times. The person that we have sitting in office right now is very dangerous. He's a dangerous, dangerous person. And I can't fathom people who would want to keep him in office at this point. He very clearly doesn't care about his people, especially the people in this country, the people of color in this country. He doesn't care about people's health. He does not care. All he cares about, he just cares about being abrasive and rude and wrong about literally everything. And I cannot have, that's dangerous. It is dangerous. And this man is talking about how he wishes he could run for infinity terms and get 16 years and just all kinds of really scary stuff that he's just saying because he thinks he's indestructible. If that loses you as a viewer for me, I'm fine with that. I'm really fine with that. Bye. That's it. I don't like Joe Biden. I don't want Joe Biden. Joe Biden is like being a 4-year-old and being forced to eat your vegetables when all you want is dessert, right? I don't want Joe Biden. But I think what a lot of people who usually get disillusioned with the election process, with voting, with things of that nature, don't understand about the election process and voting in November is that it is not a one problem situation, right? When you vote for president, that's all well and good, but that's not all you're voting for when you go and vote in November. And I don't think a lot of people realize that there's so many more things that you need to be paying attention to. Because while everybody's focused on the president and what the president can and cannot do, what they're not realizing is that like a third of Congress seats are up for grabs every 2 years, including this election and every election. When you vote for judges, and you vote for your Senate representatives, and you vote for all kinds of laws. You vote for local things, laws, and things of that nature. Like, you need to really, really, really pay attention to your ballot when you vote, because it's so important to just do that. A lot of people just say, oh, it doesn't matter. We have terrible options, so I'm just not going to vote. But the president is not the end-all, be-all of everything. I think a lot of people in their government classes don't remember the system of checks and balances that we have in place in our government to keep bad things from happening. The Congress is there specifically to check the president and make sure he's not doing shady stuff, make sure he's not passing bills and laws that are unsavory, and to make sure that he's acting in the best interest of our country. The Congress is there to keep him in check. Like, that's what they're for. And people aren't realizing that they need to vote for this. And then a lot of other people aren't realizing that these are things that you can vote for in off years. They do have important elections for Congress, again, every 2 years. Like, these are things that you need to be voting for. A lot of people, remember when the House of Representatives flipped over from Republican to Democrat? That was an off election cycle year. Like, people don't understand how important that kind of stuff is. And even if you are only thinking about the president, think about the cabinet. Think about the army of goons that Donald Trump has behind him. Wildly unqualified for their jobs, and all the ones that were qualified got fired or left and have now spoken out against him being the president and the things that he's doing, if you really drill down. So he's got this army of goons behind him that are making decisions for so many different facets of our country. So even if you don't like Joe Biden, think about who he'll probably appoint in his cabinet of people. And that's just as important too. So you have to think about a lot of things when you say it doesn't matter or you're not going to vote because we have terrible options. I get it. I do. You look at it at face value and it sucks. It really does. But if you have any kind of heart and you are one of the people that would just be sick if Donald Trump won another 4 years of the presidency, but you've decided that you're not going to vote or you're going to write someone in because you don't like Joe Biden, think about that decision, because there's so many more important things at stake than just Joe Biden being the president. We have a chance to take these last 4 years, spin them around, and hopefully salvage some semblance of what our country used to be. And with this happening, and then all of the protests and all of the things happening with the Black Lives Matter movement and all these things that we're looking at, we have a real chance to start affecting some positive change in our country. Because really, when I say go back to the way our country was, that's not what I want. I want a world pre-Donald Trump, but I want to take the activism and change that has been so prevalent and important in these last couple of months, and I want that to carry forward into a world where we actually have support for those types of things. I brought Kanye West up at the top of the video because it's incredibly important to talk about right now with what's going on. There's I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and the internet talking about Kanye as a king, right in Kanye, talking about making fun of Kanye and calling him crazy and blah, blah, blah. I meant what I said. Don't write in Kanye West and literally throw away your vote. The man, he's got some demons up there. Kanye West hasn't really been the same person since his mom died. And I get it. I get that a lot. But he's kind of spiraling. And he needs to talk to a professional and get himself taken care of. And just from what I know about him, what I've seen in his public facing identity, that may not be something that he's going to go get himself. He needs somebody to step in and help him. And he's doing it, and he did this whole presidential thing as a publicity stunt. I don't even want to justify this with a promotion, but the day that I'm posting this, he's got a new album out tomorrow, and you don't think this was part of that? He's just doing a crazy thing to get attention, and that is absolutely a cry for help, and he needs help. Don't write Kanye West in on your ballot. Just eat your vegetables. If you really want to see Donald Trump out of office, just eat your vegetables and hope that we can get him out, and then regroup and think about ways that we can fix our system and start actually getting out there and focusing on people that can change our system for the better, right? We need to hold our political parties accountable, because the Democratic Party are not saints. The Democratic Party stomped out Bernie Sanders at every possible avenue they could get. The Democratic Party has done a lot of shady stuff. We need to start holding our politicians accountable. But for right now, until we can fix or repair or destroy and rebuild, just like the police, as we've been talking about, destroy and rebuild the system that we have in place, sometimes you just got to eat your vegetables and realize that the Democratic Party is the one right now, just right now, that's going to offer that short-term support in getting to where we need to go. The Republican Party and Donald Trump is not our answer. If it was our answer, these last 4 years would have been beautiful. There's so many people that I know who are just like, oh, he's not a politician, he's so different, he's just blah, 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 that I hope I've been looking at the last 4 years and all of the warnings and all of the strife that people had gone through and realized that they made a mistake. And that's fine. That's fine. Like, how could you know? You know what I mean? I mean, you could know. But I'm like, if we're giving people the benefit of the doubt, I understand the idea of just wanting something different. You know what I mean? It's been, but he clearly failed the vibe check. You know what I mean? So we have to like really pay attention to that. And now we're going to continue going on this weird journey. Part of all of this is this idea that like we are just going to get bored of activism and things of that nature. I've been so afraid this entire time. I've been so proud of people for getting out there and getting the younger generations getting out there and marching and being loud and vocal and trying to affect change. And a lot of things have started happening. But like, it's been since mid-March, 4 months. Like, just as an example, and Breonna Taylor's killers still have not been brought to justice. Even a little bit. One of the officers was spotted in Florida. No mask on. Figure that out. Living his best life. Meanwhile, Breonna Taylor is dead because of him and them. And honestly, y'all gotta stop being scared of saying their names, too. Because it needs to be out there. Jonathan Mattingly, Brett Hankinson, Miles Cosgrove. They killed Breonna Taylor. They murdered Breonna Taylor, and they still haven't been brought to justice. What's wrong? And my feeds, my social media feeds, they've not quite gone back to normal, but pretty close enough to normal that it fills me with a very deep dread. And I'm going to be honest with you. I started doing fun stuff again on my social media feeds just because, like, it is so hard to focus on this stuff day in and day out constantly with no reprieve and just be happy ever again. And so you need to do those things to keep yourself from spinning off into the sun. Because, and I brought this up before, like, you shouldn't be ashamed to have fun again, but like, people are just forgetting. Or if they're not forgetting, they're utilizing their privilege or their ability to look away to just not anymore. And that's a problem. And that's what always happens, right? You're always worried that people are just going to get bored. And my exact worry was that as we start seeing restrictions for COVID, being lifted in more and more places, as we have seen them doing. I wonder if people are just going to get bored again, or people are just going to forget again because they're not bored anymore. If we go back to George Floyd and then we think about him and then the two big high-profile killings of black people in this country before George. You have George Floyd, you have Breonna Taylor, you have Ahmaud Arbery, right? What made George any different from any of the other hashtags that people get riled up about and then forget? Ahmaud happened at the end of February, right? World was still normal then. Breonna happened literally right before quarantine restrictions started in most places, right? George happened right in the middle. And what else were people doing? What else did they have to do but get angry and rise up, right? So as people start having more things to do and start getting back into the groove of things, are they just going to forget? And then it's just going to be George Floyd, just going to be another hashtag, and all these people that have died since Elijah McClain and all these other people are going to just fade into dust like everybody else has. And that's the worry, right? Because for some reason, and this is another thing that I brought up, is that adults have a very, very, very short attention span for serious things. And they have a very hard time focusing on more than one thing at a time. So, of course, we had COVID, and it was COVID on the brain for a very long time. And then George was murdered, and then it was Black Lives Matter, and protests and protests and protests. And then there's a phenomenon that you'll notice with all these protests is that the looting stopped. And then the protests kept happening. And then the news stopped caring. And it was back to COVID. We have absolutely no attention span for serious things, and we have the inability, mainstream media for some reason has the inability to hold up two very serious things at the same time as each other and treat them both seriously and equally as problems, right? We have been this entire time, we've been in the middle of a global pandemic that is absolutely dangerous, that for some reason, a lot of American people are not taking seriously. And then we also have this crippling social injustice that we have been struggling with for hundreds of years and is almost if not more serious of a pandemic. And we have to pick and choose which one we're going to take seriously. What's the most exciting, provocative thing at the moment? That's what it is. I think I just figured it out. Provocative. What is going to get the most people angry in the wrong way? We have every single system in this country is completely backwards. And nobody wants to fix it. Because everybody would rather have a peaceful life and go on and forget about everything and just enjoy the comfort of ignorance. That's what it is. People don't have capacity for more than one thing because they prefer ignorance because it's easier. And that's just me. That's just me spitballing. But I know that if I could just not pay attention and just be like, I would choose it every time. If I had that in my heart, if I didn't have the fire and the willingness to fight in my heart, yeah. I pick that ignorance every single time. Because why wouldn't you? You have to pay attention to something. You don't have to pay attention to all of it. We're sick again. Black lives don't matter anymore. And it all ties together at a certain point. Everything that I'm talking about. Because we have a very clear and present opportunity to take what we have now and push it forward. And that is by voting in November and eating your vegetables and starting a process. I'm of no illusions that blue all the way in November is going to immediately change everything, because it's not. Joe Biden is a status quo of a Democratic politician as I have ever seen in my life. But there's so much more than just Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So much more. This is our chance to plant a seed that can grow into something that's going to help us. I don't see why you wouldn't try. If you really care, I don't see why you wouldn't try.